And sometimes I would turn into the dog.
Wait, what?
Named Ruff.
Well, now what? You would turn into the dog.
George
and all
lore.
of a sudden I would be the dog. Oh, hey, Ruff, how are you?
Here it is, The Musers, the podcast, episode 33, Brady Bunch Makeout Session.
Welcome to another episode of The Musers, the podcast, America's favorite new podcast. I'm Craig Miller.
I'm George Dunham.
I am Gordon Keith.
How are you all this week?
Man, I'm doing great, Junes. How have you been? Haven't seen you in a while. What's going on with you?
See him every day.
Everything's good. Yeah, happy to report everything is pretty good. And I'm really looking forward to today's topic because we happen to be the perfect podcast to discuss said topic, and you'll find out why in just a moment. But first, our letter of the week, and thanks to Keto for sending in this story in response to our fart episode. And this story made me laugh out loud several times. He writes, while in the 8th grade, I had a class with one of the most beautiful girls in school who sat in her assigned seat right in front of me for the entire semester.
I don't like where this is going.
She wore hip hugger jeans, sandals, and halter tops almost every day. She could have been a model. I could never look her in the face. If she turned my way, I would freeze up. I never spoke to her, never had the courage. She was out of my league. One day, I was already seated when she came walking in wearing her hip hugger jeans, looking perfect, and she sat down, and then, when she crossed her legs, it squeezed out a fart.
Oh, no.
Machine gun style.
What?
Sheer panic seized my entire body. My goddess just farted. She froze in panic, not knowing who heard it because the classroom was still loud with people chatting before the bell rang. I knew she would eventually turn around my way, and my heart started pounding out of my chest. Slowly, she turned to look at me. I turned away, hoping she wouldn't see me. After several seconds of sensing that she was staring at me, she said, "Did you hear that?" Instead of seizing this moment to be cool and break the ice with the hottest girl of my life, I froze up. I had no hip and cool comeback, nothing suave, nothing to help make her feel better and reduce the embarrassment, so I acted like I didn't hear her question. After several agonizing seconds, I said, "What?" "I don't know what you're talking about," but she knew I had heard it. There was no way I couldn't since I was only a couple feet away from her. She just looked at me with a disgusted facial expression and turned back around. I had blown it. I let her down when she needed me the most.
She didn't need you the most.
I think he played it right.
I never talked to her again. I could never bring myself to even look her way for fear that we would lock eyes and she would see through my soul.
What?
The school year ended and I never saw her again.
Oh, man.
All right, a few thoughts. I'm kind of with George in that I think that this is the right move. I think it's better for her that he doesn't make any sort of production about it.
Right.
He doesn't do this. I know he's seeing it as a moment to do, I really heard that, and I want you to know that it's safe with me. He doesn't need to do any of that stuff. Just pretend like you didn't hear it, and it's fine.
Right. But don't avoid it for the rest of your life.
Yeah, that's weird. The other thing is, this may not have been that kind of wind.
All right.
Good Lord.
I'm just saying. I'm just letting you know that there may be other things that were at work here.
Okay.
It's possible, yes.
But no matter what kind it was, still should not be commented upon and should just
Yes. Didn't happen.
He should have moved on and never mentioned it again, particularly in a letter to us.
Right. Because she could be listening to this podcast
She
today.
hears it. Yeah.
Hey, I remember I was a girl sitting in front of Keto. I can't believe he's outing me.
He'll never forget that guy's
made
name.
it. She thought she was finally in the clear on that.
Plus, if you're thinking you're going to comfort her, I don't know what you could have said to comfort her.
Nothing.
There is no comfort.
You don't want to
nothing
say, "Don't worry about it." I do that all the time too, because you don't want to paint yourself as a farter.
And you don't know what kind it was, so you can't say
Right.
that.
Stop it with that. You just, you made the right play by not saying anything.
Well, if you'd like to email us about anything, reach us at our email address, themuserspod@gmail.com. Now to today's topic, birth order. Why are we the perfect show to discuss this topic? Well, because I'm a firstborn, Gordo is a middle child, and George is a lastborn. So what podcast is better equipped to handle the topic of birth order than the Musers, the podcast?
Can't think of one better.
I was the oldest of two, Gordo the middle of three, and George the baby of five. So this podcast is tailor-made to handle this topic. And we should get this out of the way early. While many, if not most, believe that birth order plays a role or significant role in a child's development and personality, we need to keep in mind that it's really just one of a million things that go into making up a personality, because there are so many variables. Even within the birth order topic, there are so many variables: family structure, socioeconomic status, when and where you were born, what your parents were like, did you have a single parent household? I mean, there's just so much that goes into it. But I think we can draw a lot out of birth order into the making of our personalities.
Yes, absolutely. It's not absolute, but there are there are times, like the guy who makes a routine on Instagram and TikTok of being either the firstborn, the middle son, or the last son. We have 3 boys, and it is spot on sometimes.
Really?
And that's why it's so funny to us, because he captures the personalities of all 3 of our boys. And yeah, it's really funny. I think parents get a huge kick out of that.
So were you aware of the birth order thing? And did you know, like as they were born, did you and your wife comment on it, or is this something that you found out later and then you look back and go, man, this really describes them?
I think it went later, well into like my youngest life, like 4 or 5 years. And I think you maybe brought up the fact that my middle child, you always used to say he's going to be the crazy one, because that's what I was. I was the middle child.
That's right.
And he was
the craziest one.
He was kind of the craziest one. He came up with a lot of crazy theories, still does. So yeah, that definitely fits the middle child. And that fits in my family of 5 too. My brother, who's closest to me in age, is seen as kind of the crazy one, and he was right in the middle of 5. So yeah, that matches up.
Okay, why don't we take each spot, because I've got a list of all of the characteristics of firstborn, middle child, and lastborn. And let's run through these, and let's see, since we're each one of these, if we identify with these, or if the other 2 guys thinks these are accurate. And then, yeah, if it fits your kids, then we can go that route too. So we'll start with the firstborn. These are traits that are normally associated with firstborn children. So this would be me. And the general thought is that being the firstborn, you get a tremendous amount of attention from your parents, because there are no other kids. So that the firstborn kid is likely pushed harder. They get a lot of responsibilities around the house because they're the oldest. They're going to be the babysitters for the others and things like that. And that can ramp up the pressure on these kids. And for maybe many years, they're hanging out with only adults. So that helps shape their identity as well. So these are the traits of firstborn kids. They're responsible.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
They're very structured.
Yep.
Yeah.
They're competitive.
Yes. Oh my gosh. We can't walk in through a door before Craig.
He has to be first.
He's got to walk through first.
That's not true. They're confident.
Yeah.
Too much.
Well-behaved.
Yeah.
Bossy. Cautious. Intelligent. That's spot on.
Okay, you're not allowed to comment on it.
A leader. A perfectionist. Type A personality. Never cut themselves any slack.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say
You
that's
fit
pretty
a lot of those.
pretty spot on.
Yeah, and I can see that in my oldest as well. He was he would also abide by the rules, and that was always really funny as time would go by. We told him at a very young age, look, you can only get chocolate milk once a week, and he did, and he would
Follow the
he would
rule.
always do it. And then we took my middle child to the doctor because he had so many stomach pains, trying to figure out what's going on. Well, what do you have at lunch? I don't know, have chocolate milk every day. He gets it every day. How does he get that every day? And meantime, our oldest was abiding by the rules, only got it once a week. And our middle one, Blake's like, yeah, I get it every day. What's the big deal? Chocolate milk's great.
Did you guys find these characteristics fit your firstborn in your families when you were kids, your older brothers?
Yes. Tad was our oldest, and he was responsible. He was very intelligent. He was a perfectionist. And I do think my family's really unique. And I was just thinking about this recently. For him, it must have been really difficult because as a parent, when I viewed first versus secondborn, the firstborn had such a tough time when you introduce, hey, guess what? We have another one of these things.
Right.
So he had to deal with a sister 2 years younger, then a brother 4 years younger, then another sister 6 years younger, and then I came along 10 years later after my next sibling. So I think with him, he was pretty much done with it after about the age of 9 or 10, and he really did kind of gravitate towards my grandparents and spent a lot of time with them. And I could see now why sometimes he wasn't always, in on our family activities because he went to college when I was 2.
Yeah.
So I don't.
Yeah, didn't you say he didn't learn your name until you were 3 or 4 years old?
At least that.
Yeah.
At least that. No, he was always really sweet to me, and all my siblings were. But it was. I've really thought about him a lot lately, and it must have been really difficult on him with so many siblings. I thought it was awesome to be in a big family, but I bet every 2 years, what was such a tradition for the first 8 years of his life must have been like, oh my gosh, another one of these things is coming home.
Gordo, was your older brother Boo like this, or is he still type A?
Yeah, he was certainly much more responsible and all of that than I was. But he also had, he also was a rock and roller and was at bands and stuff like that, which wasn't so responsible.
Mm-hmm.
So he had kind of a Rumspringa type era where he went a little crazy before he came back to the Amish fold and finished his college degree and went on to get a decent job and all that stuff.
Yeah, as a firstborn, when I look at this list, it checks just about every box. It's really weird how it does, but cautious. I've always been very cautious, rule follower, well-behaved. I never got in trouble. On our radio show, the topic came up recently about, did you ever get licks when you were a kid? Did you get spankings? And everybody pretty much had a story of getting a spanking in school, except for me. And if you didn't get spanked in school like Gordo, you were in school suspension a lot.
Right.
But I never got that. I just was always, keeping it between the lines and never got in trouble, never came close to a spanking. Got a couple from my dad at home. But, being a perfectionist, this is something that I don't really like about myself and has tortured me for a long time on our radio side of our career. And I've noticed this, like we all make mistakes because we do live radio 4.5 hours a day, now 3 hours a day, and we've done that for 30 plus years. And when I make a mistake, it sticks with me the rest of the day, the rest of the week. I can't shrug it off. You guys being a middle child and a lastborn seem to shrug it off a lot better than me, but I live with this burden of being a perfectionist, and I realize I can never be perfect in really anything. But you still have that carrot out there. It's like I have to try every day to be perfect. And if I just stumble over a word in a segment that I'm presenting, it bothers me like I can't explain.
That is a curse.
It is.
Yeah, it doesn't bother me as much. And I think that's where we do have a lot of differences. Things that bug you don't even register with me, and vice versa. Some things that get to me probably are not really seen by you.
The part about oldest children are responsible and very well structured, I kind of like that. I like having a structured life or having a plan. The one that says that they're competitive, I don't know that that's me. I mean, I am competitive, when it comes to, I want our radio show to do really well. I want our podcast to do really well. But in sports, and maybe it's because I was always the youngest in my class, and so I never physically dominant, so I never could really compete. So I learned to not be overly competitive, even in sports that I took up later in life, I didn't really care if I lost. I just, it was just fun to compete, but I wasn't necessarily competitive. So I don't know if that one checks the box, but most of the others do.
I look at my time with my oldest, and for the longest time, I would let him win whatever we were playing, cards or, some sort of game. And I think that grew on him to where he had this like undefeated streak, from the age of when he started playing games till he's about 4 or 5. And then I started introducing some losses to him, and he would lose his mind.
Yeah, it'd be devastated.
He couldn't handle it, and he got better about that as time went on.
I don't know what the right call is there.
I don't either.
Because you got to give a kid a few wins in order for them to stay interested in the game.
Right.
Yeah.
But I think maybe the third time you play it, you need to hand them a loss then, and then give them a couple more wins. You got to pace the losses in pretty early.
Yeah, I think
in
that's
order
the
for
best
them
way
to know that loss is an option.
Yeah, just to introduce that is a possibility you may lose. And this is maybe my worst moment of parenting. We've told this on a radio show before. I played golf growing up, introduced it to my oldest son. He's our best player. He played in high school, probably could have played in college, but decided not to. And he's still really good. He's a scratch player. And about the time he was 12 or 13, he was getting where he could almost beat me. And he had a chance to beat me one day going into 18. And I had to make like 100-foot putt or he was going to beat me. So I was out and I knocked it in from 100 feet away.
100 feet?
Yeah.
That's no exaggeration.
No. It was like on the other side of the green. I was just trying to get it. I was like, how am I going to handle this when he starts dancing around the green and celebrating?
This is going to be his first victory.
This is going to be his first win. And instead, I drained it from 100 feet and ran around the green like Hale Irwin with my hand up.
You couldn't help yourself.
That was just terrible. I looked back at that, and he really was crushed, just kind of like, oh, my gosh. But there was something great about that, like, yeah, just when you think you got the old man, you don't. And we laugh about it now, but I did not handle that well at all. And taking on he and his brother one time and 1-on-2, they would try to beat me in basketball in the driveway. And there were countless times when I'd make the winning shot and then just run inside like I was running into the locker room. That's bad parenting, isn't it?
Why were you so childish?
I was trying to do it as a joke, but one time they got really mad at me. It's not funny, Dad, when you do that.
Okay. When they say that to you, certainly that was a wake-up call, right?
I'm sorry, guys. I was just joking around. Me
Trash talking your kid.
I'm thinking, yeah, take that. Terrible parenting. Just terrible.
The only other one on this list of firstborn traits, a leader, I've always felt like I had the role of just when we go on road trips, the three of us, I always drive.
Right.
I book our flights. I do our timesheets each week. And I just kind of naturally fell into that. And I like doing it. I've never minded it.
Yeah, that's fine with us. We're
But
good.
I think y'all ought to leave it up to me a little bit more often.
Oh my God!
But that
we
is
never get anywhere.
That is the oldest child in me coming out. Just so you guys know.
Yeah, no, that's fine with us. We go along with it. Middle child,
fine
last
me.
born. Yeah, cool. That's fine. Chocolate milk, great.
All right, you plan the rental car. I'll be drinking chocolate milk.
And that's fine with me too. Okay, let's get to the traits of the middle child. This would be Gordo, who was the middle of three. And generally speaking, again, there are no absolutes here, but generally speaking, the middle child usually doesn't get as much attention as the older or the baby. They may feel overlooked or squeezed by siblings. Research has found that parents don't provide later-born children with the same cognitive support as they offer the firstborn kid.
That's very evident.
So sometimes those kids have to work a little extra hard. But, the older kid is also working hard because the parents have the spotlight on them, so they're making them work a lot. So it's, it's hard work, but to different degrees. So here's what they say about middle kids. They are independent, diplomatic, agreeable.
Thank you.
Oh, boy.
People pleasers.
Thank you.
Realistic.
Yes.
A negotiator.
Okay.
Low self-esteem.
Thank you. Yes.
Moderate risk takers. and they are peacemakers, especially within the family.
Gordo is such an unusual bird, though, that he's not obviously going to fit all of these, but some of those you do fit. I would think with the middle one, there is a lot of individuality in there because you're kind of stuck in between, so you feel like you gotta do something to kind of stand
certainly
out.
felt like I was in no man's land in my family because it was not only that I had the older brother who was kind of good at everything, sports and all that kind of stuff. But then my younger sibling was also a girl, and she got a lot of attention. And,
right. A baby girl,
yeah. Right. So she was the youngest and was the only girl of the Keith children. So she took up a lot of my mom's attention. My mom was very happy to have a girl and all that.
Oh, sure.
So I felt like I was a freelancer there in the middle, just kind of could do whatever I wanted to do. So, when I go through this list, it just doesn't, I don't know. Some of those don't ring very true to me because I was also a real troublemaker. So I don't know that I'd rank high on the agreeability scale. What were some of the other characteristics?
Independent, people pleaser.
Independent, yes. People pleaser, that's an interesting one because I like to make people laugh. That was pleasing in some sense, but I was also very disruptive to people too. So it wasn't pleasing to them that way.
Were you a peacemaker, especially it says within the family?
I think later on I would be, but I also disrupted the peace more than I actually made it.
You would start a conflict and then solve it, maybe?
Yeah, maybe that's it.
A negotiator?
Nah, I don't think so. I think I was pretty hard-headed growing up, and I don't know how I was when I was really young. So before I had consciousness, but yeah, middle school, high school, not a peacemaker, not a negotiator, very hard-headed, very much a troublemaker.
Yeah, the trait that I was expecting to see on most of these lists for the middle child was, they really act out.
Yeah.
They're attention seekers because they're the middle child.
Because they're having to get attention, so then they become the class clown and stuff like that.
And that trait made some lists, but not as many as I thought it would make.
Mm-hmm.
I see thoughtful for the middle child, and I think you are that. Did you find you certainly are now. Were you like that growing up, that you were thoughtful of your siblings or your friends? Or
No.
That doesn't fit?
No, I think
that fits you now,
that
though.
came in later. Yeah.
Yeah.
That happened later when I realized what a monster I had been growing up.
It is also to note that other than the firstborn, a lot of times the next born or the next born after that, their roles change every couple of years. You go from the second kid may go from the baby of the family getting a lot of attention to now the middle kid once the third kid is born.
Mm-hmm.
And so the changing roles can also impact, and you're probably too young to remember that stint where you were the baby.
Right. And I think that factors in a lot to why there's such variability in middle children.
Yeah.
Because at one point you were the youngest. And so how long a period of time was that you were the youngest?
Right.
That makes a huge difference.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, and then when the youngest came along, now I've had other people observe my family and they'd be like, I'm surprised you're okay with the fact that, because I was always used to, in my view or in other people's view, the older and the younger would get special treatment or get more attention and everything. And I never had a problem with it. Like I never thought about it. And they're like, that just, you don't feel like you're short shifted? No, it just makes sense. That's the way it is. I mean, she's the only girl, so she's going to get this. And he's the responsible older one that's accomplished, so he's going to get, this. And I just always never had a problem with any of what could be seen as unfair or unequal treatment. It just felt natural to me.
Yeah.
So I kind of got used to it.
My brother, who is the middle child of 5, always claims that he was raised by wolves, that my parents never really could figure him out either. I see a lot of those similarities between my brother and you on that front. And I always thought he was hilarious because he would just say something that made absolutely no sense of what we were talking about, but it would be very Gordo like, and he would always say, "Well, I'm sorry, I was just raised by wolves, so what would I know?" And I think he felt kind of lost in the shuffle of being in the middle of two older and two younger, and especially a caboose like me that came along so much later.
Yeah, as a middle kid, you have to carve out your own identity because you don't have one. You're not the oldest and you're not the youngest. So what are you going to be that's going to make you special? Or maybe you're okay also with being a blend in the background type person, which is more of the type that you described, Junior, and reading down that list of middle child traits, is the one that just kind of smooths over and patches things together, and more of a backseat kind of middle kid. And I was the middle kid in the back seat who was pulling pranks on my mom driving in the front seat. So I was always, I guess, screaming out for attention in that way. Yeah, and sometimes just flat out screaming out when it came to the scream laugher,
the random scream
character that I did.
Stop screaming.
And there are
it's my laugh, Mom. I'm a scream laugher.
There are different middle kid positions as well. You could be kids 2 and 3 in a 4-kid family.
Yeah, it's the only one of these positions that has multiple positions attached to it.
Like George, your sisters were 2nd and 4th in the family. Did they exhibit middle kid traits like your middle brother, who was right in the middle of things? Because they were also kind of middle kids.
They were, but for a very short time. It just went by 2-year increments until I came along 10 years later. Yeah, they did. It's funny as I look back, Rick was different, the middle one, because he kind of marched to his own beat. But the other ones were, I saw them so similar in that I just adored all of them. And I came along so much later that it was like, I was almost like a play toy for my 2 sisters.
Your parents didn't plan you, did they?
I don't think so. I think I was
going for a 5th.
Very much a surprise. Yeah.
10 years later.
Yeah.
How old was your mom when she had you?
For the time, she was pretty old. She was 38. 38 to 39, I think, when she was pregnant with me. So, yeah. For back then, that seemed, oh my gosh, that's really old to be having a child. Now it's no big deal now.
Yeah, and we'll get to the characteristics of the baby, the last born child, but you're almost a blend probably, because you grew up in a way like the firstborn, because you had the house to yourself for such a long time, so you may not perfectly fit into all of these.
Right. And sometimes I felt like an only child.
Yeah.
Because they left the house. Everybody was in college by the time I was 8.
Wow.
So, they would come back at Christmas and in the summer, but I was like, it was almost like I went from being the baby, the center of attention, to where is everybody? And so, yeah, I'm kind of a combo, I think, of youngest and only child, which is probably why I turned out so goofy.
But boy, do parents parent that first one so much different.
They do.
And once you add kids, and by the time they got around to you, Giorgio, it had to be like, hey, here's the pantry, and there's stuff in the fridge.
That's what my siblings say, that you did not have the discipline that we did. And my dad was a U.S. Marine, so it was a very disciplined household. But compared to my friends, whose dads were a lot younger than my dad, I grew up in a very strict household. And I said, man, I don't know what y'all are talking about, because I feel like I tried to walk a really straight line. But compared to them, I guess I really didn't.
So your dad still had the energy to have rules.
Oh, yeah. Yes, we had rules. But when I would tell some stories to my siblings, they go, oh my gosh, you got to do that at that age? And I can't think of one offhand. Like take the boat out when I was 14 by myself. You let him do that? Well, I'd grown up going out on the boat, watching them ski all my life. So yeah, I could do all that, but I think it kind of burned them up like, oh my gosh, I would have loved to have done that when I was in high school, and they didn't get to do that, but I did.
It's funny. You go to a restaurant, you can always tell if the couple is sitting with a kid, you can always tell if this is their only kid, because not only is it the only one there at the table, which is the first tip off, but you know that they don't have other kids that are with the grandparents, because you can see if the kid drops the pacifier on the floor, the pacifier gets sanitized and it gets put into a chamber that has an ultrasonic cleaner in it and all that kind of stuff. And then that last kid, if they have 3 or 4 kids, it gets picked up right off the floor and gets put back in the kid's mouth.
We've always said
They
that.
just don't care about nothing.
We had our third, we would pick the dog hairs off of it and go, here you go.
Yeah,
Pick
here you
that
go.
back
It's
there.
back. It's fine. You're good. We got some redundancy built in this family now. It's fine.
Meantime, I think with our firstborn, I think we boiled the pacifier every time.
Right.
Yeah.
And that kind of care just does not go into third and fourth and fifth children.
Not at all.
Yeah, as we look at the traits of the youngest or last-born child, one of the things they said about it was that the youngest doesn't get the same kind of reaction from the parents, not only when it comes to dropping a pacifier on the floor, but like when they walk for the first time or ride a bike for the first time, because the parents have seen this a few times before.
Man, we got it. We get it. That's good. Hey, congrats over there.
Yeah.
Good job.
When the first kid does it, they throw a party.
Yeah,
When
they got professional photographers filming the bike for the first time being ridden.
When the fifth-born does it, it's like, hey, good job. Can you come over here and help me with this?
Right.
But they also say that the last-born generally gets much more lenient parenting, kind of like you were talking
And I did.
about.
Compared to them, I did.
Yeah, what your
Absolutely.
siblings accused. All right, so here are the typical traits of a last-born child: outgoing, social, rebellious, spoiled,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I may have been.
That's true.
I may have been.
carefree, an attention seeker,
Oh, yes. Oh, my gosh.
manipulative,
That
Oh,
is,
boy,
I've always been searching for the word that describes you, George.
a free thinker, a free spirit, and a risk taker.
Yeah, I'm some of those. It's interesting about, being outgoing and social. And I can still see these traits now. Some people see me as being very quiet, very shy, and I really was, unless I was around my family. Then it was, hey, let's let George entertain everybody. And we've talked about that doing the Howard Cosell impersonation or Keith Jackson or something. And they got a big laugh, But if I was around friends, I was always like, especially after you got it handed to you on the playground about how not funny you are.
Oh, gosh.
When you do Howard Cosell or the bits that seem to go over really well at home. And I would be really shy until I got comfortable around people. And then I was a lot of fun to be around. And I'm still that way. I'm still, if I don't know you very well, I'm probably not going to be the life of the party, but I can be. And like I said, I am a definite hybrid because part of my upbringing seemed to be the only child. And one of those descriptions is creative.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not as creative as Gordo. He's incredibly left-handed creative, but I spent a lot of time alone trying to entertain myself and with a guitar or a violin, spent a lot of time trying to mess around with songs or imagination. And there was always a
Did you have an
creative
imaginary
element to me.
friend?
No,
I don't think I did either.
I think I did. No, I had an imaginary dog. And sometimes I would turn into the dog
Wait, what?
named Ruff.
Well, now, what you would turn into
is
the
new
dog.
George
and all
lore.
of a sudden I would be the dog. Oh, hey, Ruff, how are you?
No wonder he has such a strong reaction to pet play and all those fetishes that
I do not.
where people are
I see what you're
being
saying. Yeah.
walked on a leash inside a Walmart.
Yeah, I don't get that. It was kind of cute when I was 4, but now that we're adults, I don't get that. Why you want to act like a
Well,
pony.
you didn't name it very creatively.
No, it really wasn't. I was a little dog named Ruff. I need counseling so
And then-
bad.
and
I just
then-
got so many issues.
Junes, you had an imaginary friend. What was his name?
Well, I had a lot of imaginary friends because I had an entire basketball team that I grew up with
That were fake.
that were fake. I played Nerf basketball starting second grade, when I got a Nerf hoop. And since I was born in Amarillo, I created a college, University of Amarillo Armadillos, and we were a national power in college basketball. But I had the same guys, and they were all my friends, John and Norm and Dan and Jack, and this was our basketball team. So when I would come home from school, I'm heading to the gym and I'm shooting around with these guys and I'm laughing with them and we're getting ready for a game. And, you know, then I play the game with them and then it's post game and we're in the locker room together. So I had this whole team and I did that for years because after, of course, I have to be stable when it comes to sports after 3 years. And back then you could only play sophomore, junior, and senior year. Well, then I had to go pro. So all of us somehow ended up on the same pro team.
Oh, you were all
Imagine
immediately
that.
drafted by the same.
By Amarillo, which got an NBA franchise because of the
Wow.
success of the college team.
Wow, it's kind of like Drexler and Olajuwon. They
Yeah.
both,
Right. So, yeah, I had the same group of guys that were my imaginary teammates for 5 or 6 years as a kid.
Man, your childhood stories make me sad. A
They
lot
were
of
so
times.
great.
I think that's good.
I had a very happy
I think
childhood.
I think that's very healthy.
You and your fake friends.
Man, I told you about, and this is middle child who would do this. Again, the middle child that Gordo always thought there was something just a little off with, and he was really funny. He had imaginary friends, teammates, and he'd go out in the back patio and play. And sometimes we'd look out there, and he'd just be laying on the concrete. And I thought he was really hurt. Are you okay? Yeah, I just got fouled. And he was
Hard foul,
milking
yeah.
it for the milking it for the crowd.
Yeah.
That was me.
He's
I did
flopping.
that stuff.
He's flopping.
He played with Davis
Reese,
Cologne
Rice, and Russ.
and Reese Rice and Russ. I can't
Yeah.
believe you remember.
I
that.
remember Reese, Rice, and Russ.
Reese Rice and Russ and
His
Davis
imaginary
Cologne.
friends.
Yeah,
Davis Cologne.
Davis Cologne.
and they always lost. That was the other thing. It was always that they'd get to the championship, and it was a heartbreaking loss.
Why would you imagine that?
I took him to too many North Texas games, I guess. And he was just used to defeat after defeat. And yeah, it was always just a heartbreaker. And then we'd have to sit through the post game which were really long. And then I went up like this and I got fouled and all these detailed
He would tell
stories.
you would have to attend the post game press
Yes, we couldn't
conferences.
watch the game, but we'd somehow, whether we liked it or not, be a part of the post game press conference and just to hear about the entire game. Yeah.
The names of my teammates, because I was not creative, I just took them from sports. Like there was a pro basketball player named Norm Van Leer. So my best friend on the team was Norm Van Leer. And I just pretended he was Norm Van Leer's kid. The same name.
Mm-hmm.
Our guard, Jack, his name was Jack Landry. I just took Tom Landry's last name.
Yeah, logical.
Our center was John Gianelli. That was the name of a Knicks center in the NBA, so I just stole that. My names weren't creative. I just stole them from pro sports and made them college kids.
But the fact that you had a media guide and everything,
Yeah.
I mean, that was just incredible that you went through those
Broadcast, scoreboard in my room.
leaps.
So I think there's something here with Giorgio. See, I didn't know you before you had a kid.
That's
So
right.
it feels like I almost don't know what would Giorgio have been like in his natural state had he not, because you had a kid young and that forced you to
I was much more guarded.
become a different person
Yes,
in a way.
I was, yes.
Because
And
you had to be responsible. All of a sudden you had to get a job and take things seriously. You couldn't quite be the youngest personality like you
Right.
could be in your family.
Yeah.
The George that I met in college, and I think this George started in high school when you got comfortable around your friends, ticked a lot of these boxes: outgoing, social, rebellious, carefree, free thinker, free spirit.
Mhm.
I think you were a lot of those.
Yes, I was. That's why I loved you two so much, the group.
Me?
No.
Oh.
Well, yes, but the group you two they were different. I got my haircut differently going to college, and I was starting to rebel. And yeah, man, we need to stand up for
we're
the
gonna fight the
new
power.
sound, man. This is us. And yeah, and then I quickly dropped that when I started having kids. It's like, oh my gosh, I got to make a living here. All that rebellion stuff doesn't sound as cool as it did a couple of years
You weren't
ago.
wearing Sex Pistol shirts quite as
No.
much anymore.
No, not as much.
By the way, you said that you also felt like an only child. I do have the traits of an only child.
Yeah.
That's the fourth possibility in birth order.
Right.
Mhm.
I guess there's a fifth with twins. I don't know how that works.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about that. Like, does that still count if you were twins but you were born 1 minute earlier?
Right.
Do you?
Boy, maybe. I don't know.
No, there's
I
no
don't think
way
so.
that counts for anything.
You just have two firstborns in the family. If all you had were twins, there's not a baby.
No,
Yeah, I'm not sure how that works.
And
either.
twins, they split a soul, right? They don't
right?
have their own soul.
No.
How does it
I
work?
think they have their own
Actually, or
souls.
sometimes one gets a soul and the other is soulless.
Oh,
I
okay.
think that's how it works. But if you're an only child, you tend to show some of these traits: perfectionist, conscientious, diligent, a leader. They say it's very similar to the firstborn list.
Yeah, I guess, like I said, I'm such a combo. I don't really know what I am. From being the youngest to an only child, it was such a split. But I've told you guys before on the podcast, I thought I was the luckiest kid in the world to be the youngest of 5. I loved being part of a big family, and it was tough when they left for college. That, hey, where'd our big family go? And that's why, Christmas and whatever it was, spring break or summer, when we were all together, was just the best.
How did y'all, did you take road trips with the family? Do you remember that?
Some, but they were all, it would be 3 of us, not all 5,
Right.
because someone would be off at college. And yeah, and I always felt a little left out because they would tell stories of when they took like a trip to California. Maybe that's why I still want to take that trip from Texas to California, because they had all sorts of adventures.
They had a whole life before you.
Yes, and that was 8 years before I was born when they did that. And I wasn't a part of that. I was a part of some trips that my 2 older siblings weren't a part of. So yeah, I didn't get to take a lot of those. And if I did, I don't remember them because it was probably the first 3 years of my life.
And June's, your sister is 2 years younger than you,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
And then the Keith kids are all spaced out 3 years apart.
Yeah. That's also another topic. What is the best amount of time between kids? I always heard like 3 or 4 years is best because it's a little chaotic if they're closer together. But I don't know if there's been studies on that. I'm sure there has been.
I bet you there's pluses and minuses to just like everything. There's no right answer. It's just whatever happens. There's downsides to being too close together, and there's upsides to it.
One interesting thing I read about birth order, and this obviously is only the case in some wealthy families, but that the birth order was dictated by the oldest knew they were getting the inheritance or the title or whatever it was. And so that's why they were very well behaved and structured. And then and it made me think of Prince William and Prince Harry. Prince William's very buttoned down. Prince Harry's really wheels off, or had been for a lot of his life, because that second child or third child in the inheritance line knows they're not getting the money or the title of king or whatever. So they're just wheels off and they let it fly.
Interesting.
But that doesn't apply to King Charles and William, does it? Or what's his name? Andrew.
Oh, yeah. Was Andrew the older one?
No.
Yeah. So it does apply, right? I get
very
it.
much so.
Yes.
Went a little off.
Think about that. That's a great
off the track.
Yeah, I skipped down to the kids, William and Harry, but Charles and Andrew are another great example of that. And then I thought this was interesting. When it comes to athletics, being the firstborn is not good.
Really?
That the best athletes from multi-kid families are generally the second, third, fourth, fifth born, because
they have to compete with
with the older siblings.
Strength of schedule. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, you're playing up a division from the very start.
Yeah. So almost all in these families, take the Mannings, for example. Cooper was the oldest, but Peyton and Eli turned out great. And, I guess Cooper had the injury too, but
he would have been
the best
of all time.
He was fast.
But almost always the best athlete out of a family was a middle kid or a baby, and very rarely the oldest kid.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And I see that with my 2 boys who are closest in age together from a very young age. My middle one, who did turn out to be our best athlete, played in college and is a coach now. I mean, he was 2 years old and he's playing sandlot baseball with his brother, who's, 6 or 7. And then one time we were short a player for my oldest team in Little League Baseball. So he would have been 9, and we suited out Blake at 5, and we put him in right field. And he did fine.
Really?
Yeah.
Playing against 9-year-olds.
And then Mom said, "You are not putting him at the plate." Why? He plays with these kids all the time. And he did. And I don't know if he got a base hit, but he didn't embarrass himself. And
it was great for him.
Yeah, we didn't have to forfeit the game, and we played with a 5-year-old right fielder.
And he ended up being a great athlete. He played college football.
Yeah. So it got him ready for that. But it was interesting between those two. They were very competitive against each other.
And they were close, right?
Yeah.
2 years?
No. One was born in 87, 4 years apart.
Oh, they're 4 years apart.
Yeah.
And then your youngest is how far
And then
apart?
he came along almost 9 years later.
Jeez, boy, they're really spaced out.
Yeah.
But yet they were competitive. Despite being 4 years apart, you would think that there would not be a competitive streak between those two.
Oh, but they were. Some of those basketball games went, the ones I wasn't involved in, when they played one-on-one, those got pretty spirited. And then it was interesting, too, that I read that the first and third, especially if there's some time, that the firstborn and the lastborn all of a sudden find that they have a lot in common. And I've seen that with our boys, that their personalities are very much alike, even though they were separated by the most amount of time.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
There's also the dynamic of the blended family, which, you could be the oldest in your family, and then your parents get divorced and remarry, and now suddenly you're a middle kid, and how that throws those older kids who were the kings of the castle or the kings of the kids, throws them for a loop, because now they've got an older brother, inherited an older brother or sister that runs, roughshod over them.
That's got to be tough.
Yeah.
It doesn't all work out like the Brady Bunch. But they had fights.
No. What, with
on the Brady Bunch?
A hot Marcia being added to the family? really throwing off the
my sister now. You can't think like that.
Right.
It's my sister.
Had to be hard for those kids.
Well, what happens, like, if let's say that your parents are divorced, and this is the Brady Bunch type situation, and your mom starts dating some guy who's a dad at the school who's also divorced, and Marcia is a girl that you were attracted to and you wanted to date, and now all of a sudden she's your sister.
It's the second marriage wave off. You can't, no.
You cannot.
No.
What if you are Greg and you're going out with Marcia?
You got to break up.
And then your parents meet because y'all are together and everything, and they met, and
okay, well, we're trying to form a family here, so y'all can't make out.
Now that would be weird. Would that be?
You would have to break up
Yes.
in order for your parents to get married.
That's what I'd rule.
Or would that be a deal breaker for the parents? Look, we can't pursue this because our kids are dating.
Right.
Yeah, somebody's going to have to break up. It may end the parents' relationship.
But why should anyone be denied their soulmate off of that situation?
Maybe they could have a double wedding.
Yes.
You can't have that going on and try to form a family. And it's this blended family that we're going to have now. We can't have Marcia and Craig
Well, but I'm saying
having makeout sessions every night.
Can't they be grandfathered in?
No.
If they were together beforehand.
No, like I said,
How
someone's
weird
got to
would
break
that
up. They have to break up, or the mom and dad have to break up.
Yeah, at the dinner table with everyone, you look over and the brother and sister are making out. You can't have that dynamic.
What's wrong with
for
you?
the other kids?
Well, but then you're damning Greg and Marcia. They're always going to hate their new step parents,
Sure,
because they were the ones that denied them the love of their life.
Right.
And I think they're going to be still sneaking into each other's room at night
They might be.
I didn't think we'd.
and doing stuff.
Those were the episodes we didn't see of the Brady Bunch.
Yeah, that's in the director's cut.
Sink down to Brady Bunch makeout sessions.
That's probably an indication that we should wrap up this edition of the Musers podcast.
Yeah, we're done.
That was a lot of fun, though. All right, please subscribe to the Musers, the podcast, on Apple or Spotify. It's free. And you will never miss an episode. Review us or rate us if you feel so inclined. And remember, our entire back catalog of now 33 episodes is always available. Thanks to our producer, Peter Welton, and we'll see you next week on the Musers, the podcast.
You can email the Musers at themuserspod@gmail.com, and we would really love to hear from people who have found the podcast but weren't already listeners to the radio show. We're curious to hear from you, so please let us hear your story. Thanks for listening. As always, the Musers, the podcast is a Tired Head production.
Happy podcasting.